So the first one that I want to do is actually this rating component. Okay, so the rating component is a component that should take probably a number. That's the number of stars that are selected in the rating. So the way we do this is first I'm going to take these stars and I'm going to group them and say that this is actually what we call a multi-state component. So I'll press M, draw a multi-state group, and I'll say that this is actually my star component. And I'll rename these states to be default. Actually, this is not default, this one is filled. This one is empty. You have to make sure that you select the artboard. Not empty. I'm just going to call this one empty. And you see here, there's source component not found because as soon as we wrap all of these with a multi-state group, the components down here don't exist anymore, right? So only the one big star component. So we're actually going to substitute all of these by the star component. Star. Ooh, there's another error saying like multi-state error. This is our props evaluate.state evaluated to undefined. Okay, we're going to deal with that. So let me first finish doing the names. I can also do the names, go to the code sidebar and say filled empty, and this one is going to be, I want this to be a hover, so colon hover. And this state is going to be either filled or empty. So actually I want a Boolean checkbox as an input. So filled, yes or no. So I'm going to say if this.props.filled, then the state's going to be filled, else the state's going to be empty. Cool. So now we can substitute all of the source component not found here by star, star, and we should already have and these are still images, so this should be substituted by star, and this also star. So now these are not images anymore, they're instances of this star component. So now each of these can either be filled or not filled. Cool. And they also get the hover state nicely there. So let's try this by actually adding an instance of rating to our main component. Let's go to React app and see if it's there. And it's there, and you see that bam. You get the hover state, and you get some of them filled, but you can't quite click on them yet because we haven't specified it. Okay, cool. So what we actually want to do is this rating component, it should specify all of these filled or not filled based on the rating. So if I click make dynamic here, I can make the fill be a dynamic value. So I'm going to make all of these dynamic. And now I'm going to go to the code sidebar of the rating block. And again, code sidebar has two parts. First is object inputs. Second is the usage sides here. The object inputs is what inputs, what arguments, what props does this component expect? So in this case, I just expect one, which is the rating, which is a number. And now each of these is like, I can use these inputs to define whether each of these is going to be filled or not dynamically. So the first one, we're going to say, well, this.props.rating greater than 0. If the rating is greater than 0, that one should be filled. If the rating is greater than 1, the second one, this one is not the second one. The second one is this one. As soon as I click here, it selects the one here. That's how I know which one it is. Rating greater than 1. This one is the third one. Rating greater than 2. I actually think that if I align all of them correctly here, yep, if I align them all correctly, it should be in order. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So now there's a props rating greater than 3, rating greater than 4. Awesome. So now this component, this instance of the rating component, it has a rating argument that's passed down to it. And if I set 1, 2, 3, cool, we have our star rating component. Very cool. Now the last bit of this is that we might want to set this rating by clicking on each of the stars. So how do we do that? Well, you have to define on-click handlers, and you can ask yourself, maybe I want to define the on-click handler on star here or on basically the rating itself. And I'm going to say the rating itself because these stars are kind of just like images, but you could go either way. So what I'm going to do is, like, for each of these guys, I'm going to define an on-click, where I'm going to say this.props.set rating 1, and I have to lazy load this, otherwise it gets executed immediately. So set rating 1. In this case, I'm going to do on-click set rating 2, and in this case, I'm going to do on-click set rating 3. On-click, and you can also do the on-clicks by going to the code sidebar. Code sidebar is, again, you can see all that's dynamic or event handlers for all of the elements within a single component. So these guys should be set rating 4. This one should be set rating 5. And there we go. Cool. Now I'm using this variable this.props.set rating, which means that I need to specify in object inputs here that I take not only a rating but also a set rating function. So not string anymore, type function. Cool. So now this guy expects a set rating prop to be passed down to it. So it expects both a rating, which can be not dynamic or dynamic, but also a set rating, which is always dynamic because it's a function. So it goes to the code sidebar. So in this case, we're going to say, actually, you just do this.props.set rating again, and then specify that there's a set rating object input in the main component, which is also a function. Cool. Now to test this, if I click here, nothing should happen because there's no set rating function defined yet. So I need to pass down in my code a set rating function. Cool. So that part is easy. We can just do something like takes in I, and it does this.set state rating to be I. Right, and now I just need this.state equals rating starts at 0, let's say. Cool. Let's see if it's working. It is not working. What is happening is the state rating is being changed, but we're never passing it down to the component. So actually, of course, obviously we need to pass rating equals this.state.rating. And then we also need to make sure we use this in Pagedraw. So it got passed down to the main component. Now we're going to go ahead and in the draw sidebar, we're going to make the rating here dynamic. The code sidebar, we're going to just say this comes from this.props.rating, which again, we specify as an input of type number. There we go. And now if I click here, bam, awesome. We have a component working. Very cool. So now you can call this rating component either from Pagedraw by creating an instance or from your code. And as long as you pass down both a rating and a set rating to it, it should work.